Hi guys, this is Anna, and here I'm going to talk about Volume 2 of Alexandria Quartet by Lawrence Durrell, the book called Baltazar, or as he originally called it, Justine 2. So it's a follow-up to the Justine, and it should be read after you have finished reading Justine, not the other way around. The books in the quartet are not standalone, and they have to be read in the correct sequence as the author has planned. Because as you read them, it's like peeling the onion. There is one layer upon another layer, which influence your understanding of the previous novel. There is a lot of bottomless layers mentioned, and the more you read it, I think the more information or the more nuances you will pick up from each consecutive read. So Baltazar, the second volume, is written basically in two main voices, the two main narrators. This Darley, finally we get to know the name of the narrator in Justine. And then there is the Baltazar himself, who acts as a teacher, as a proofreader for the memoirs. So without jumping too far ahead, there are two special notices before you start reading the book, and both of them cite Marquis de Sade in his work Justine. There are two of them. I'm only going to read the first one because the second one is rather long, but both of them I think hold the key to understanding, not as much as the first transcript in the preface to Justine. So the first one reads, "The mirror says the man is beautiful, the mirror loves the man. Another mirror says the man is frightful and hates him. And it is always the same being who produces the impressions," which is really fascinating because we know that eyes are the mirrors to our soul. Therefore, your understanding of certain events is pretty much your own unique set of experiences. What you see is what you want to see and what you want the other person to show you. And the more you know the history and the background, the more your perception of the events will change. Hence, it is really important that you read the books in the sequence. So what happens in Baltazar? In Baltazar, we're presented with four main characters, just like we did in the first part, Justine. So what characters do we keep? We keep Justine, we keep Darley, we get to know that his name is Darley, but he becomes more a periphery. So Justine, her second husband, Nassim, his brother, Naruz, who becomes more of a prominent feature in Baltazar, comes to play. Then there is a mother of Nassim and Naruz, and she's quite important. And even more importantly, there is a subject of the first husband to Justine, Percival, who was the author, and he is supposedly written based on an English author who lived in the same time as Lawrence Durrell. So there are four main characters: Justine, two of her husbands, and there is the third man, and that third man is pretty much the younger brother of her second husband, or you can argue that Claire gets more of a play. So there is a very interesting juxtaposition. So it's like four, and then the four, and how, you know, like the Venn diagram, the way the Venn diagram looks like. So it's the same way with Justine being stuck in the middle, how she joins as that corner, the other group of four people. So you have Darlin, he's living on a remote island, which he escaped to in the first book. So it's not like I'm telling you the big part about the book. He lives with a legitimate daughter produced by Melissa, who dies. So she's not actually a main character in the second volume, although she is mentioned in the beginning. So she lives with the daughter of Melissa and Nassim on this island, and the daughters are the 4-6. And what Darley decides to do, he decides to put his memoirs on paper. He writes them up the way he remembers them, the way he understood the events, and obviously it was all driven by love and passion, sexual attraction to Justine. I don't think he truly understood her. He projected what he wanted to see in her rather than saw her for human being she was. There's so many gaps about Justine in the first book that we get to know a little bit more of the facets in the second. And when he writes it up, he sends it to Baltazar, and the Baltazar basically corrects with his own opinions, but he doesn't let on everything, but he partially corrects it. But he intriguingly said, like, I can't tell you this, it's outside my control, I gave my word, can't tell you this, can't tell you that, but you're wrong. So what you see already, some events become upside down, like, if you know what I mean, compared to Justine. It's really, really fascinating. What I also loved about this book is we get to know more about Nassim and his family, and we get to know more about the history of Justine. Enough to intrigue you even more, because there's even more hint of her being involved with the secret services. There is a murder happening during the carnival. There's a beautiful carnival happening in Alexandria where everyone dresses up, so it tells you more about the cultural aspect of that society which no longer exists. I mean, with World War One and World War Two, the whole culture of Alexandria was obliterated pretty much. Then there is this beautiful part where they talk about Nassim and his younger brother Naruz, and they live in the countryside. So it tells you about the lifestyle of the locals, people who live in the desert and who have the money, how they hunt, how they into horse racing, how the female in the society, in a traditional society, is treated, because we get to meet the mother of the two men. We get to meet the first husband of Justine, and we get to meet a little bit her child. She lost a child, and a big part of the narration is predetermined by her quest to find out what happened to the poor child. Is she alive? Has she been kidnapped? Is there a way for her to reconnect with her daughter? And that explains so much about the behavior of Justine in the first book. We get to see Justine through the eyes of her first husband more by looking at his writing, because it was really interesting. It's a play on the play. Like in the first part, we got an idea of how the first husband of Justine saw her by getting Darley to read the memoir of the first husband. Now we get to see those memoirs through the eyes of Baltazar, so we get two conflicting views on the same piece, which is already processed information by a man jilted and a man in love with it. It's so fascinating. It's very cleverly constructed. I cannot wait to read the third volume. I've started it on the weekend, and I literally had to stop myself, because within the first 5 pages, it blew my mind. On one of the characters, on one of the 4, and I was like, no way, that explains so much. Honestly, the mother of Nassim and Naruz, she's a fascinating character. Naruz is a very fascinating character, and I love the whole debate Justine, who is a highly intellectual individual, had with respect to her second husband Nassim, because he is portrayed as this, very interestingly put, intellectually impotent man. So he is not intellectually just, and she struggles in that relationship because she wants more. She wants to feel more. She wants to discuss more. She's always curious. She's always fascinated. She wants to have a discussion, dialogue with someone. Her husband is just blah, in a way. But he is rich and he's good looking. He has a standing in the society. And then you have his younger brother who has a disability, who is much more passionate, who is much more engaged in his culture. He does not want to be more westernized. He wants to keep the tradition of his upbringing. And he appears to be much more intellectual compared to his older brother. But because he has his disability, he suppresses so much, and he experiences so much less, that when he falls in love, he falls in love like a madman, and he cannot control it. Needless to say, I love this book. I absolutely did. It was written a year after Justine, and I think within that year, maybe because Lawrence Durrell got more comfortable, maybe because he knew more what he wanted to get out of the book, but his writing style has evolved even more. And even from the writing itself, it is a pleasure to read. It's absolutely not a pleasure to read, because the images are so vivid, like you can smell it. You can smell the salt in a salt lake while you read it. Like you can see the sunset, you can hear the birds, you can go on a mad ride with the horses and smell it, like smell the sweat of the animal and the man who have been riding the whole day. The carnival, like you feel part of it. You feel as if you're witnessing the whole thing. It's just the gift of writing Lawrence had. It's spectacular. I really, really recommend it. So yes, please let me know if you have read it, if you liked it, or if you would like to pick it up. I'm going to be reading Mount Vale, the third book of the quartet through the month of May, and I will finish it next month in June with Cleo. So there will be 2 more videos to complete the book. See you guys next time. Bye.